Welcome to another Life of a Marketer podcast. And on today's podcast, I have John. John, I'm simply going to allow you to introduce yourself. So let's jump in. Tell me about who you are and what you do.
I'm John Toraason. I am a marketing consultant, or I have a marketing consultant agency. Um, and we really, try to stay away from the word consultant, to be honest with you, because uh, we act as a consultant in that we are a contractor for you, an extra set of hands. And uh, that sometimes can be considered a consultant. So we still kind of use that language, but for the most part, we are a full-fledged marketing group. We focus on digital marketing mainly, although we do some print. But it's generally supported with the digital side. And like I said, got into this business back in full-fledged in January 6th of 2020, but really started back in 2000. And my first customer actually was Leapfrog, which was a startup at the time. And so I've kind of really been focusing in that area. A lot of companies that are in that kind of startup mode and ready to, looking to grow.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So what kind of digital marketing do you focus on?
Um, that's a really good question. We don't, so to speak, we don't really have one that we particularly are focused on. We are very diverse, and we really look at the one. We go in and audit a company marketing and really look at the area where they have some shortfalls or some areas where we feel they can repurpose some of the things we're already doing and move into other areas. Now we happen to have a lot of people, a lot of our customers are in the membership area, which is not necessarily a specific digital marketing niche, so to speak, that people talk about. But it really is. Membership is a very unique form of selling your product, where you have a customer and then you maintain them for over a period of time, whether it's months or years, weeks, whatever that might be. And it can be everything from a tangible product to a service or a piece of software or something of that nature. And it does take a lot of the whole breadth of digital communication uh, expertise is out there all in one. You have the acquisition side. Let's start even beyond that. You have a lead you need. Then you have the acquisition side. How do you turn that into an acquisition? And then you have the engagement. You need to keep that customer engaged. And then you also have the renewal or the upsell, whatever you might call it. And that's really getting more out of your customer and maintaining that customer. So all of those people are already using, really, they're using lead generation right for their business in some way, shape, or form. They really are looking at, hey, how do I get to the close, the acquisition? How do I make that acquire? And then two, hey, how do I keep them as a customer long term? Right? It costs a lot of money for us to get a customer. And so you want to take full advantage of that and increase the ROI by maintaining them over a long period of time. One, they refer you, they give you more business, all types of things like that you can use. So all of those pieces are really encompassed in the membership. So we started mainly doing memberships, to be honest with you, because I grew up in the subscription membership business. And doing that for a long time, but realized that there's a little bit of everything involved in that, as well as things like the acquisition side. For example, you have outbound email marketing, you have your social, which can be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, right? You have your blog posting, your content, all of those areas that are important, your website, which is really critical. Also, even things like what does your landing page look like? What is your buying process? Is it multi-steps? Can we simplify that for you? Is that the best way to go? I mean, can we give you that one page, one stop? Hey, come and learn everything about me, order and hit submit all in one step. So little things like that. So hopefully I didn't jumble this up too much, but that's really where everything is with us right now. Again, we do that audit and then we determine where you may be able to repurpose some of the things you're already doing, or find areas where you might be able to easily and efficiently diversify your marketing efforts.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. So we're going to switch gears a little bit now. Tell us, what's the best thing about being in the marketing industry?
Oh, that's a great question. The best thing is, you have the diversification, you have a little bit of everything. And that's something that I like. I don't like to kind of get pigeonholed and doing the same thing over and over again. You get everything from building a website to, helping people connect with other people in LinkedIn, setting up a workflow process in LinkedIn. So you really get a wide breadth of areas that all sides of, I like to call it the operational side of the business. There's that side that creates the product or the content, and then there's the side that runs the business. And marketing entails a little bit of all of that, everything from, you can really get into the finances, actually become more efficient with what you're doing and save money, as opposed to helping them with their weaknesses or increasing their strengths. So that's what I like mostly about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely, a lot of our guests have answered similar to you, that it's definitely not something that's static or boring. Marketing is constantly changing.
Right.
But what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
The biggest one is, and this, given that there is this wide breadth of things that we have to do, the biggest one I give everybody is to be in everything that you're doing, is even with your customers or with, the whole side of trying to build your business, you got to be consistent. You have to get in there every day. And if your objective is, hey, I'm going to use LinkedIn as my tool to acquire new customers, for example, you got to, that's every day. That's you're reaching out to try to get, to 20 people a day, you get 100 a week, whatever it is, in LinkedIn right now, as an example. So you do your 20 a day, or you do 100 on Monday, whatever it might be. And then you're following up with all of them. You're doing your multiple follow-ups, whether it's just to say, hey, thank you for connecting, or you're doing a little research on them if they look like they're a prime candidate for you, and you're reaching back out to them for a opportunity to meet directly. All of those, as well as working with your clients. It's the same thing. You have that client, it's real easy to have 3 or 4 clients and to let one of them run astray, or you finish them up and you don't stay with them. You need to be consistent about how you communicate with them. You can't just be dipping in and out 1 month or 2 months or whatever it might be. You need to have a consistent communication with those clients as well. So in this industry, it's really easy to get pushed and pulled in many different directions. But the biggest one is to have that plan and stay consistent. It's kind of like content building. You got to do that content every single week, or whatever that pattern is with your clients. It's the same with your business. That's the best advice I can give people is stay consistent, and it will happen for you. It can be frustrating. I understand that, because there's a lot of us out there, but the people who are consistent and stay focused are the ones that thrive and do well.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So you said you do a lot of memberships type clients. I'm what's been key for you with your clients of retaining those memberships? How do you know, give us maybe some specific examples of your experience. How have you helped some of your clients retain their memberships?
Well, to retain their memberships or retain my relationship with them as a membership, which
Well,
I guess I
I
could
think
answer
I like
both
the
of them.
second question better.
Okay, how do I maintain my relationship with them? It's the same thing that I'm teaching them. You're preaching to the choir. You're telling them that you have to, one, you acquire that customer, right? You have to engage them. You have to continually give them a little something that's going to want them to listen or to stay with you or to stay focused or to, and that's what you're telling them to do, right? You're telling them, hey, sell my kids' music package, right? That they're going to use and get every month. You're going to want to give them little tidbits. Hey, how do you use it? Here's a way you can help your child with counting or math or whatever it might be, language skills. Give them little tips. That's you're engaging with them. Us as marketers, we also need to be doing that with our customer. We need to continually give them ideas or thoughts about their business or little tips that they may like, whether it's real broad to all of them or it's something specific that you find germane to their business. Shoot it out to them. Hey, I was thinking about you. Here's this. But that's a great way to retain a customer and build a customer is engagement. It's really kind of the first step after you acquire a um, customer. You have that engagement, and then that's really what moves you to renewing them or maintaining them or getting more out of them or upselling them. Selling them a totally different product. Hey, you're doing a membership with me. You know what? Your website needs a little bit of work. Um, and it's a great site, but I got some great ideas for you on ways you can repurpose some of your content. Things like that. So
Awesome.
that would be, that's how it works for me. And it's on both aspects. It's one, me maintaining my customers, and it's what I preach to them on how they can continue to build their business and take advantage of the customers that they already have.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, John. I appreciate that. So switching gears a little bit, what other successful people in marketing like yourself would you like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
Well, that's a good question. I work with so many of them. Most of them, we're a small company and we use a lot of contractors. For everything from helping with sophisticated, web design is a perfect example. You got a million different formats you can be doing your website in, from Shopify to WordPress, whatever the customers using, email deployment systems, all of those. But some of them that I really liked, I like to really shout out to are the ones that have helped me, with my business, with that back end side. Mark Firth is a great example. He's a guy that he's a coach, and I actually was kind of a customer of his. I wasn't necessarily a paying customer. I kind of helped him with his business, acquiring customers and memberships and things like that. And he helped me. So you want to give me a shout out to one. That's one that I like quite a bit. And then there's the other ones that I would give a great shout out to would be the some of the larger vendors that I use that have been really very open and helpful to smaller businesses like myself. I'm not a real big business. And those are the SEMrushes of the worlds, the Mo's, those types of companies. Surprisingly, they're big. They're, international, but hey, you don't have any problem reaching out to them independently and saying, hey, I have an issue with a specific client. Can I get some help? For example, people at SEMrush, they're terrific. They'll get on the phone with you, and I'm not spending a ton of money with them. I'm not a big customer, but that's another one that I would give a shout out to. I really like, and Mo's as well. Both of them. Those are search engine optimization companies, or SEM as well companies. So how's that?
Awesome. Appreciate you answering that question. So we've got one more question. This question is just for fun that we ask everybody. Tell me the oldest technology you remember using.
Well, hey, hey, that's a great question. But really, all that, it's like saying, hey, how old are you? Really tell us, right? How old are you? I am so old that when I started, there weren't computers. You were not using a computer when I started in the business. And the oldest technology I remember using was, I'll tell this story real quick, was in college. I took a class on programming. We're really fascinated with computers at the time. And they were big, huge mainframes. There weren't PCs. None of that was out there. You didn't carry a computer around. You didn't have a cell phone. Didn't even have a phone that wasn't connected to a port. But I took a programming course, and the course was, hey, you take the punch cards in. We were doing a small payroll, 6 people at a hardware store, and they all worked part time. You work 6 hours, this day 7, and you wanted to submit the payroll to your accounting, a report on what payroll was going to be. So you did a punch card, a simple, 6 people work, 30 to 40 hours a week, making $1.65 or whatever it is at the time. You submitted the cards, but in there, you had to submit a card that said, hey, if there's a loop, that meant if you made an error and it kept going back and forth, the report would print forever, right? You had to put a card in that said, stop if you run into a loop. And you put this card in, so you hand it in a punch cards, a deck of cards. You take it down to the mainframe. They'd print out your big report, and you hand that report in and say, hey, you did it right or you didn't. Well, I forgot to put if there's a loop, stop printing. And I went up, to the office. I said, hey, I'm ready to pick up my report. Guy says, hey, come on around to the door over here on the side. Go over the door, and there's a stack of green bar. If anybody knows what that is, it's the computer paper with the holes on the side. This eye, he's got it on a little dolly. He said, thank God we stopped this, because this is only going to cost you $48 instead of, a couple hundred. And $48, going to tell you, back then was a lot of money. It was like a couple hundred. And, anybody that was in college, you didn't have a couple $100 just laying around. So that's how old I am. That's the oldest technology I can remember dealing with.
Yeah, that's actually, that you still are not the oldest. I've had someone on that said the oldest technology they remember using is a transistor radio.
Well, I use that as well. I mean, come on, we all used it. I thought everybody did. Yes, I thought you were talking in the computer.
Oh no, you could have taken that in any direction. That's
totally. Oh yeah. We use the transistor radios. Yeah, you take them out and they had the battery in them, and oh yeah, yep. And you'd go fishing, fire up the transistor.
I mentioned this on a lot of podcasts. I hate to do it now, but the dumbest answer was my mom, which is the first podcast I did that I interviewed for first person, and she said the oldest that I remember using is a pencil. And I was like, ha ha ha, very funny,
Got a good point there. I mean, I know, my dad would talk about, they used, when they got their phone, it was everybody in the neighborhood used the same phone. You got on and said, hey, can I speak to, everybody picked it up and said, I need 001. And that was you, but everybody could hear you. The whole block could pick the phone up. 001 was who I wanted to talk to. So that, I heard those crazy stories, but yeah. But so, yeah, the oldest would be transistor radio, or that, if you're talking about computer, I was back when the mainframe was just coming around and people were using the punch cards to program.
All right. Awesome. Well, John, we're going to wrap it up. We keep our podcast pretty short, but I appreciate you on very much. Everyone, you can catch the Life of the Marketer podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually at about 11:15, 11 something. We don't release it right on the hour so that we're not like everyone else. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's probably the best way. And when we stream the podcast live across social media on Tuesdays or Thursdays, we also release it on YouTube. So you can subscribe to our channel, or if you just want to be on the email list, we send out whenever we have a new podcast, we send it out on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the same time. you can email me, Jared, Jared, at hiveleadmarketing.com, and I will directly put you on the list. Once again, John, it's been a great podcast. Thanks for coming on, everybody. Over and out.